Hi Joseph. To start off, could you share a little about yourself and your experience growing up?
Hi, my name is Joseph and I'm 20 years old. I went through the same path like any other normal Singaporean would. Going through kindergarten, primary school, to secondary school, to further education and then finally to university. But I think the difference between me and other people is that I took on a more, I would say, narrower path when it came to my education journey. Whereas for me, I decided to enroll myself into a special school, which is catered for students with special needs.
Okay. What was your special school like? What kind of support or environment did it provide for you?
A lot of people were guiding us through on like how things work and what is expected of us. So in my special school, there were like some volunteer teachers, many are youths or young adults who wanted to like serve as a teacher and to give comfort to like let's say the kids and the students who may be nervous, who may be uncertain of what's going on because they have special needs. Some things may not be clear to them, they may not understand. And I was one of those kids back then.
Were there any particular challenges or obstacles you remember facing during that time?
I think for the first part, I think everything went smooth sailing. I was progressing well academically. I was being a great student, doing well for my grades, making my parents proud, and following every instruction given.
So were there any challenges you faced?
I think there was some when it came to like secondary school, because secondary school is another league compared to primary school. Let's say if I was 13 years old back then, some people would just mature way faster than me. And then I could not catch up, I could not understand them, or I easily get into misunderstanding with them. And one particular incident I can remember is I was just playing with them on the field. They were talking about something very funny and I wanted to like have a feel of that enjoyment. So I just repeated the same joke along with them. And then I probably kept doing it too often until the point where they got really annoyed. And then in return they started to treat me very harshly. In fact, they were using physical means which kind of jeopardized my esteem as a whole. Because of those bullying incidents, I just was afraid of going to school during that period, and I just didn't feel like coming anymore. I just felt very down, I felt very lonely, I felt very like so alone, I just didn't know what to do. And then that's when the option came from my psychologist, I think we should transfer you out. When the first time I heard that, my heart kind of sank because I'm like going to miss my old friends, I'm going to miss all the comforts, miss all the familiarities, and now I have to throw all of that aside and embrace a new society. Like that is just like changing jobs. You are familiar with one job, you work for like 6 years or 10 years or so, and then the next thing, you're suddenly asked to leave, and then you are asked to go change jobs, and then you have to go through it all over again. This transition was really not easy.
So how did you usually cope when things got difficult?
I think I want to thank my parents a lot for this because the more I talk to them about what I've been going through in school, any issues that I've been struggling with, I feel like I start to know myself better and I start to regain assurance that there are people who support me, who love me even though I'm in struggle in school, and have people that just don't like me or like that, yeah.
So can you tell us about the transition from your special school to a mainstream school, and how do you feel about it at the start?
It was a transition between one culture to the other. One thing I saw for my special school, everything was orderly, everything was like written down in pictures, posters, all visually appealing. But when it came to mainstream, everything just changed. Like suddenly you have to know where to go for your classes, no one is going to guide you, you're on your own. and all you can do is rely on your peers who have been in that school for way longer than you. And another huge difference I realized is, for my special school, when people talk, they usually yap about one single topic. They just never change. And it's pretty much like 90% of students will behave like that. They just either don't know about other things, or they just don't know how to talk about it because all the people they talk to are special kids, people with special needs. But when they came to mainstream school, people were changing topics on the fly, like every 5 minutes. I just couldn't catch up. Like I want to talk about something, then suddenly they switch to another one, and that confuses me for the entire thing. And then I miss important points. I miss important things that they love to yap about. And because of that, I most of the time ask, "Oh, what did you talk about earlier?" Or "Can you repeat that point?" Like most of the time, it's just me trying to catch up on what you're talking about. And because of that, I usually spend most of my recess and break times eating alone or just listening in to what they're talking about, and then for the most part, not understanding, not learning anything. It took me a whole 3 months to settle down, and I really want to thank my buddies, Riona and Kai Jie. Those are the names of my two buddies who came to support me during this period. They were trying their best to accommodate me in much of their talking and socializing as much as they could. Unfortunately, I didn't follow up with them, that's the word, and I wasn't that socially confident back then. I was too reliant on my familiarity, on what I really knew and what I was most comfortable with. When it came to topics that were niche to me or very unfamiliar to me, so for example, could be like, "Oh, what clothes do you buy? Oh, what is your favorite bubble tea? What do you think of this guy?" I didn't know how to answer all those back then because in special school, no one talked about them.
So over time, how did you start to find friends who understood and accepted you?
In Polytechnic, I was just very blessed during orientation. Like on the first 2 days, a group of peers in my course opened up themselves and said, "Hey, do you want to join us? I noticed you're alone." And we just grew closer, we just started to enjoy each other's presence. And then that we had lunches together, we sat together with each other for lectures, for our classes, and as MSTs drew near, we started to study together. And when we move on to studying together, I felt that was the breakthrough I was looking for. And we were also looking forward to seeing each other. The new school days about to start. But unfortunately, that didn't last long. In year 2, something I would say disastrous happened. And that whole one just for the whole of year 2 and year 3 my Polytechnic, I was back in that status of looking for friends, looking for connections. And I was like, man, I cannot find anyone to talk to in school. So I decided to turn to other communities to look for friends. One of these communities was my interest group. So for me, my primary interest is trains because I just love how unique they are and how each train has a different characteristic that I can easily identify them, I can relate to. And I met up with this group of friends who connect on the same interests with me, and I talk to them a lot. And because of that, we started to know each other. And that was where I met one of my dearest friends. From that community, I met this guy called Hong Ren. He was also just like me. He was trying to find a place to call home. And trains happened to be one of his avenues. and that happened to be my avenue also. So we met up through a group chat, and we just started talking, we got to know each other, we started to realize that both of us value authenticity. And I feel like that single trait was what bonded me and him together. He is not afraid to express himself, I'm not afraid to express myself, and we are both quite enthusiastic, and I'm also enthusiastic. And I feel, and because of that, we started a group chat together for the train and twos. And there was a point where he and I actually suddenly felt like we were on having each other's backs. So our group was raided by some unsuspecting people, and they were really mean to us. They were calling us names. They were saying, "Wow, you guys should not be creating this. Why are you guys even doing this?" And I just stood with him and said, "We're going to defend, and we're going to fight for this group." And he and I just had that similar mindset, and then we both suffered together, trying to make sure this group continues to stay alive. And time came to pass, they were gone, and some of them eventually started being part of that group. Years on, that group grew to about 300 people, and looking back, I was really proud. I'm really proud to be part of this journey. But then, when it came to like socializing or having close friends, I would say that I have not reached the point where I could call someone who I can like share my deepest thoughts, my deepest anxieties, my deepest needs. I haven't reached that point yet. But Hong Ren is someone who is, I would say, the closest to that point.
Thank you for sharing your experiences with us. So what would you say to other students who might be going through similar struggles?
Don't let your disability label who you are. Like, the disability is just something that you just have to be born with, something that you have to live, tahan, stuff like that. But if you can look beyond it and just focus on what you want to do, what you want to achieve in life, and what dreams you hope to have, I think your life will be successful. When you have a successful life, you won't even think about disability. I know it might hamper you when it comes to like talking to people or relating to people, but trust me, if you believe in yourself, you believe that you have the potential, you believe that you have the attitude and the right mindset to go for what you go for, then you can actually do it.
Lastly, what's one message you'd like to share with youth about acceptance and kindness?
We are just people who are wired in a different way, but we still are friendly people and people that want to be loved and belong to. I know it's not easy for you to include us sometimes in your daily conversations and daily activities, but I would like to encourage you that will you give us a second chance to work with again. If you want to be a kinder person, start looking more at your family, or just start looking at people around you, like what are their needs, what are their concerns, and how can you help them. I started to look at how I can be a blessing to others and help others through my talents, my time, and what I can do for them.
Thank you, Joseph.